Hello, this is John Maggiore with Maggioreonbowie.com. This is the Maggioreonbowie.com YouTube channel where I post a weekly interview that has something to do with David Bowie. So while you're here, please hit like and subscribe. And for daily content, please visit the blog, www.maggioreonbowie.com, where I update it every single day with new content that's almost always about David Bowie. So today, I'm very, very excited to welcome a special guest from the Netherlands, Arjan van Gent. Arjan is a distinguished artist who studied at the Royal Academy of The Hague and the Amsterdam School of the Arts. His remarkable work spans private collections, including those of Sting and Bowie alumni such as Ava Cherry, Mike Garson, and Earl Slick, as well as Dutch museums. Arjan is an award-winning artist who has appeared on numerous Dutch television shows that focus on the arts. And in addition to his passion for painting, Arjan is a dedicated teacher of classical drawing and painting techniques at his own school of figurative art. Known for his oil paintings, watercolors, and drawings of portraits, still lifes, and everyday scenes, his work highlights the intimacy of light, embodying the rich tradition of Dutch art. And while Arjan's repertoire is diverse, we're here today because he has taken a special interest in portraits of David Bowie, and not just Bowie, but the musicians who played with Bowie, some of whom he knows. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And Arjan, thank you very much for joining me today.
Yeah, well, thank you for the beautiful introduction.
Yeah, well.
Thank you.
No, well deserved. So let me start with the most general question, which is, what attracted you to David Bowie as a subject? Why Bowie?
Well, and Bowie, I was fascinated by Bowie at an early age. In fact, the first big concert was the Glass Spider Tour, and I was 16. And at the time, I went with my parents and my grandmother. My grandmother's not alive anymore, but we went to Berlin. So it was before the wall was down, and so the atmosphere, I could feel the atmosphere, which must have been the same like in Bowie's Heroes and the trilogy days, the Berlin years. So, but it was my first concert, and it made such a big impression on me, and it never stopped. And in fact, I didn't see him that much. I saw him only 3 times. And when I had a girlfriend at the time who liked Bowie, that was good. But sometimes I had a girlfriend and didn't last for long. Most of the time, who didn't really like Bowie. I didn't go to the concert because I don't want to go to a concert on my own. But so that was one of the reasons I unfortunately missed the reality tour. And I still, I don't regret much, but I still regret that I missed it. And Bowie for me is inspiring because he, it's about for me, it's a total work of art. So he's into fashion, into art, into painting, into theater and movies and everything together, and that's so inspiring until this day.
So Bowie himself is a work of art. Is when you're selecting an image that you're going to work off of, what are you thinking of? What's the criteria that you use? Yeah, I see a couple of images behind you, and we're going to pull up some others to look at. And the images of Bowie are not done from life; they're done from photographs, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's the criteria you use to select an image to work off of?
Well, as you can see, I use some really classical based techniques. Most of the work on paper, well, especially it's museum cardboard. They were painted on, and I prepared it themselves. It is inspired by the Renaissance, by Leonardo da Vinci, and especially Albrecht Dürer. That's a German artist which I really, really love. And I try to to figure out which technique to use, because I saw a lot of fan art, and when Bowie passed away, I was looking at the internet on images of Bowie, and I saw some really nice ones, but it was not that much, which I really liked. Okay, that's always a matter of taste, but and then I thought, okay, but in a classical way, depicting him in a classical way, it's not done that much in my technique.
Right.
So, and that was my goal, to pay tribute to the musicians I really like. But the quality of the picture, yeah, well, it's got to do with the expression, of course, with the expression and the light on his face, and the picture behind you. I think it's a really great one, and I try to do my best to contact the original photographer, but it's not always easy. And sometimes I send emails to museums. So am I allowed to use this picture or what? And it's sometimes you get an answer, but most of the time you don't.
Yeah.
And then I have to make my own decision. Shall I use it or maybe just skip it?
How is it different working from a picture versus working from life?
Well, I prefer both. When working from a picture, you have to add something to it. So you try to enhance the expression or focus on different areas. So most of the time when you see a photograph, it doesn't have that real focus with you, and that's what you have to add.
Yeah.
So but if you look at a really wonderful photograph, then it's very difficult to add something extra to it.
Yeah.
That can be different. That can be difficult, and sometimes I use images from videos. I like this video image, and then I make a screenshot or whatever. So I use different methods to get that specific expression that I want. And I never can tell beforehand what it will look like, because I think when you paint, the painting itself has its own rules. You have to follow it. Sometimes it goes to a completely unknown direction, which is really challenging, and it's really nice when it happens.
Yeah, I'm going to do this a little out of order. The picture behind you of Bowie and Ava Cherry, I'm going to pull that up right now.
Yes.
Just because there's something you said that I want to ask you about. So let's take a look at that. Beautiful, beautiful piece of work. And that is, I've seen the photo that's based off of. And
Yes.
I've seen another artist's interpretation that really emphasized color, which this does not. This emphasizes light. And I was going to lead up to this type of question, but what are you doing here? It's really, you're really having, for me, you're having light speak to me in this picture. How did you approach this?
Well, the real challenge was the hair of Ava.
Yeah,
she was pretty blonde, and how blonde should I make it to make it look natural? But then she helped me a lot. She said, "Well, okay, can you add some more light on my nose?" And she's straightforward. So she says everything about it. And then I asked her, shall I use this picture? Yes, she said, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And I try, what I really like is the light falling on the fabric, and the difference between it's very strong on her. It's like almost silky fabric, and that's what I like to play with this. The way I handle this light.
Yeah. And what medium?
But there's a lot more in the original picture in the background.
Right.
And if I can use it, if it improves the picture, of course I can use it. But now I like the intimacy between both of them, and they're looking at something which we don't see, and what was really difficult was Bowie's cigarette.
Yeah.
To make it look a little bit, to look at more, to give it a natural look. And it's also interesting when you see some shadows. Then I don't have to. I don't have to draw everything, so I can give some suggestion to the image.
Sure.
That's what I like, especially in this picture. Yes.
What is the medium here?
And I used the well, I will show you. I use this. Can you see it?
Yep. Yep.
So this is a material. It's called art craft, and it was recommended by one of the employees from the shop where I always go to, and I decided to use this material because the white is very intense. You can make it. You can liquefy this blocks of pigment, and the white is very, very intense.
Yeah.
So that's helpful for me because I used to do it in the beginning when I started this series. I used watercolor and gouache. I don't know
No, that's the same word. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. And then, but this material is so much better, and it's a nice story to it because I was asked for a Dutch TV program to make a portrait of Sting and his wife, and they sent me a photograph. And I had to make a scene of his vineyard in Italy because he sells his own wines, like A Message in a Bottle and Roxanne, and I know the guy who imports his wine in Holland, so there was a nice contact. But I was asked to do it in a couple of days. I had a week to make double portrait of Sting and his wife. So I worked like 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
But I said, but it's impossible for me to make an oil painting. So can I use other material? And then this girl, she's called Paola in the shop. She helped me. She said, why don't you use this material because it only has Italian pigments. I said, wow, that's nice. So I made this. And from that moment on, I only use this material, and that's why I call it mixed media because I also use colored pencils to finish it, and it's for me a very nice combination of painting and drawing at the same time.
Yeah, I was going to ask. The first time I saw that image that we were just looking at, I mistakenly thought that it was charcoal. And what does paint do for you that you can't do with charcoal or pen and ink?
Oh, pen and ink. Well, I know this portraits of Da Vinci and Albrecht Dürer were also made with diluted ink.
Yeah.
Which is well, watercolor. It gives me the opportunity to work in a very direct way. You cannot make too many mistakes. So it makes the work more spontaneous. And you have to work very direct. And what is very difficult to explain also to my students is how much water and pigment you use.
Yeah.
And after a while, I think I made over 100 portraits like this. It's how do you express it? Well, it gets inside your body, your hand, and it's almost automatic way of painting. So, but it's a very direct approach.
Yeah.
But that's what I like about working like this. And I don't think, well, I can show you an oil paint of a landscape. Hold on, wait a minute.
Okay.
And this is another experiment.
Yeah.
That's a total different story, but
yeah.
But what is the same is that you're building up layer after layer after layer. So I always tell my students, if you practice this technique, it almost looks like an underpainting for a classical painting, because that's what I teach. So
Yeah.
build up a painting in different layers to get a certain effect.
So you mentioned painting Sting and his wife, who are obviously still alive, and you're interacting with the client. Whereas while you're painting Bowie, he's not around to give you input. Do you ever have disagreements with? Well, let me pull up another image here. The question I'm going to ask is: do you ever have disagreements with somebody who has commissioned you to paint a portrait of themselves or somebody else? What happens?
Well, sometimes, yes.
So here's Ava Cherry,
Yes.
right? So Ava Cherry is there to interact with you. Like, does she
Yes.
have an opinion? And what if
Yeah,
you disagree?
Yes. Well, to a certain point, I can change something in the portrait, but I'm very limited because it's on, when it's on paper and you use too many water and you're brushing too hard, then you can damage the under the cardboard. But then she said, well, I look a little bit sad, or I look a little bit poor. And then she, okay, let me have a closer look. And sometimes, no, that's a nice combination because, but I said, well, I lost counting all these girls after 375 or so. But I said, well, but I like this, in a way, this femme fatale.
Yeah.
And this, I said, you look like some kind of lion here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a strong image. And then we decided to use it for merchandise purposes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have some of my merchandise wearing.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
Let's see if I might not have that image. Would you send it to me?
Okay, this is the Bowie one. I was allowed to sell this on the Bowie convention last year.
Yeah,
and that's what I mean. I try to collaborate with different artists, and they can have their own opinion. That's fine with me. But I'm limited.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
and I have to, of course, I have to agree about what they are saying. Yes.
So the picture you saw, you were the subject, you and Ava Cherry, and I'm going to pull up another photo of yourself by the same artist, the photographer.
Yes.
Patricia Sauer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And yes. So how is it to be the subject instead of being the artist?
Yeah, well, that's another. I collaborate with her as well because then you don't have all the copyright issues.
Yeah.
So there are some pretty well-known Dutch musicians, like the people, the band members of the Golden Earring. I think they're known in the US, and I made a few of them. So I was at these sessions, and then she told me, "Come on, take this Hasselblad camera, which is very famous, and look at, and now you make the picture. You do it yourself." And then she said, "And now I will make a picture of you standing in front of me." And then, of course, then she directs me in a way.
Yeah.
And it's, yes, of course, it's a little bit strange.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine more how difficult it must be for the sitter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the shoe's on the other foot. So a couple points you've mentioned that your style is inspired by Renaissance artists, and I'm going to pull up an image that is not from you, but I just want to have as a point of reference. You actually used this image in our website, right? It has many videos and examples of his work, and it's really, if you like Arjan's work, I would really strongly recommend going to his website, and I'll put in a link. But this is not by you. This is this by Leonardo?
I wish it was.
Yeah. So I wanted to use this as a point of reference because I think your own style is reminiscent of this, and this is not just my opinion. You showed this in one of your videos. What is this, and why? What inspires you about this style of art? And remind us who did this.
Well, I think it's done so brilliantly. I think that this cross hatching, it's unbelievable. Normally, as a teacher, I say you do it like this or around.
Yeah.
And he goes every direction, and it's really with the white on it. When you look at when you look at the lines, he uses dark lines, very soft lines, and thin lines, and then he's very precise, and then he's a little bit. So there's everything to it, which I really like.
Yeah, yeah.
And it makes it really come to life, and when I look at this painting, it really touches my heart.
Yeah,
because this concentration in the way it looks and the subject it's really amazing. And and that's what I try to do in my own paintings. But when I look at my own paintings next to Albrecht Dürer, it's confronting. I mean, this guy is huge. I can tell you a nice story. A very, very famous painter, Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres, French painter. When he was, I think he was almost 80 or something, and then he tried to copy Albrecht Dürer because he wanted to learn from it. And I think, oh my God, wow. So that means, that says a lot about the statue of Albrecht Dürer.
Yeah.
He's such a great artist.
So I'm pulling this image up because the technique you were using here to convey texture reminded me of that Renaissance painting.
Yes, and they also colored their own paper. So yes, and I found a recipe. I created a little bit on my own, and I asked a specialist in this materials, can I use it this way? And she said yes, of course. It's very, very solid.
I've had this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, they colored their own paper with some pigments.
Yeah.
And well, the paper they used in that time was different than what we use now. So I tried to use modern materials, but with the effect of the Renaissance artists.
Yeah. So when we were looking at the previous picture and you mentioned the cross hatching, that gives the illusion of depth and texture. From afar, you don't notice the cross hatches. And similarly with this painting, which I've had up behind me, you have to look carefully to see how you're using little lines to convey texture, because from afar you don't see the lines.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and what I like about using this white, it's almost becomes like a mask.
Right.
And that's what I like.
Yeah.
That's what I like about a lot of images of Bowie.
Yeah.
He's so inspiring in that way.
So I'm going to show just a couple more images of Bowie, and then I'm going to move to what I think is really, I don't know how common it is to have such an extensive collection of painting of his supporting cast, so to speak.
Yes.
Right. So this is, you mentioned the Glass Spider Tour. And, Arjan, you and I are about the same age, and the first time I saw Bowie was in Toronto for a Glass Spider Tour concert.
Okay, wow.
And this is what he looked like at that time. And so I just wanted to show this one. I'm going to show a couple more. If there's anything you want to say about any of these.
Yes, well, this especially the last one you show.
Yeah, here it is.
This is quite an emotional story because I used a picture of my very good friend who passed away this year in January. His name was Bernard Lipsham, and he was the photographer who took the last picture of David alive in public. And this picture is of course you can see the pain in his expression, and this picture always touches me when I see it. And then I said to Bernard, did you look at the scarf he was wearing? He said, no, what do you mean? I said, you can see these little skulls on it. This is Alexander McQueen's car. I said, I think he sent a message by wearing this. Well, okay, that's my, I think he did.
Yeah.
And then he said, well, when I stood in front of him, I was the only photographer. There was someone standing next to him, and he said, but he couldn't make it with his camera or something. And I had this perfect shot. He looked into the camera. But when I looked at the picture, I immediately knew there was something really wrong. So, and when I read this story, I also read that this photographer Bernard had a cardiac arrest, like I had. So, and I saw his pictures. There was an exhibition during the Lazarus in Amsterdam, the musical, and his pictures were. And I thought, oh my God, this brings back so many memories, especially because there were huge images of the glass spider.
Yes.
And then I decided to contact him. I said, well, I think we have a lot in common. We both love Bowie, but we also we both had a cardiac arrest. I think we should make a phone call. And we did. And we spoke about more than, well, I guess it was 2 hours or so. It was really nice. And then he said, shall I come over? I said, yes, because I definitely want to use one of your photos to use as a reference for my painting. And then he said, yes, okay, I will come over. And he showed me his archive. And I was like, oh, wow. And I said, okay, this is the picture I want to use, because for me, it was so much the David I saw for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then realizing that you're backstage, later on backstage, having a conversation with, for example, Alan Childs, who was the drummer. Yes, and he said, he told me, because he really liked this picture, and then he said, but why do you do this? Why do you make this picture? Why do you send this? I can make some. I know a company who makes really nice art prints. So I said, okay, if I send you an art print, will you send me some original music so I can put it under my video?
Yeah.
Yes, no, of course we have a nice agreement on this. But Alan asked me, why do you do this? I said, well, and Bernard was also backstage at the time. He was standing next to me. I said, well, we both had a cardiac arrest, and we have a lot of discussion about what it does in your life. And I said, a lot of things, well, how do I explain it? Well, a lot of things in my life were framed by the music of David Bowie.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to give something in return.
Yeah.
And then he became emotional. I said, you guys, you framed so many moments in my life. So I think for me, it feels very good to send you something. And then he said, well, nobody ever said this to me before. So
yeah,
he became a little bit emotional. Yes. It was a very nice moment. I will never forget it.
Well,
he said, but realized it was for him, it was also the first time to have a concert with David Bowie. It was the first concert. It was in Rotterdam. He said, was my first time in a big stadium. I said, yeah, so for me too, but in a total different, what do you call it? Yes. He said, can you imagine, we rehearsed with David, of course, and that was all already impressive. But then in this big stadium, and when he started to sing, he said, I had goosebumps as a drummer. I had goosebumps all over. It was so amazing what I heard. I said, I had to do like this. Is this real? And that's what Alan told me. So yes, that was really nice because we share the same moment. But me as a viewer and he as a drummer, that's incredible. And then he sent me some a drum solo from I guess it was from Sydney. Together with Erdal.
And you were able to use that in one of your own presentations.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is obviously Mick Ronson.
Yes.
And here's Earl Slick.
Yes.
And here's Galan Dorsey. And the
Yes.
reason I'm showing these are some of the musicians who played with Bowie. You were just talking about Alan Childs, and with the exception of Mick Ronson, who passed away many years ago, you have interacted, just as you told the story about Alan Childs, with most of these musicians. So here's
Yes.
Galan Dorsey right there. And I have to say, Arjan, this project that I'm doing, I've been writing the blog for years, but I started doing these interviews like I'm doing with you right now in February of 2024. And I've had the opportunity to interview some of these musicians. And for me, it's just been incredible to talk to some of the people that make the music that I listen to every day. And I was wondering if you could tell a little bit about your experience in what, I mean, you just told this great story, but when you're able to interface with artists who you are covering in part because of their own art, what does that mean to you, and how does that make you feel, and what's their reaction? You told Alan Childs, but
well, okay, that's interesting, because you're standing in front of your own heroes. That's strange feeling to be in the same room. But what happened was, that's a nice story. Gail, well, I only spoke briefly to her, but she definitely knew my portrait. She said, yes, of course, it's been viewed. Well, now it's on 39K, so that's a lot. For me, it's a lot. And that's it. Of course, I like the portrait, but I don't have that much contact with her. But I have with Mike Garson, was one of the people I met backstage, because I have to. It has a source, because my cousin is a very, very good percussionist, and he was invited by Mike Garson for the second time. The first time he was invited by Jerry Leonard, and the next time he was invited by Mike Garson to play for the Bowie celebration. This band with alumni. And then I said, "Oh my God, are you?" He said, "Yes, I just heard it 2 days ago." He said, "Oh my God, but I want to be backstage." I said, "Can I make a portrait of Mike?" Because it reminds me of one of my first girlfriends, and we have still a very nice contact, and we both liked Lady Grinning Soul so much.
Yeah.
And at the time, can you believe it? We both didn't know which album it was.
Yeah.
So many years ago. But I have to think about this moment when I had the opportunity to meet Mike Garson. And then my cousin showed him a small video of me doing his portrait. And then Mike said, "Yes, of course he can come over." And then one of the first people I met was Sting's son, Joe Sumner, and Bernard Fowler, Jerry Leonard, Carmine Rojas, which is my great friend. I really like him. And Mike Garson. I didn't realize that at the time I finished my portrait. I took it with me at the Paradiso in Amsterdam. And then he saw this painting I did of him and David. And then he said, "Well, you haven't got a clue, I think, because my whole studio and my house was burned down by the bushfires. So this is one of the first contributions to my new art collection." And he was just standing like this, "Thank you." And he had, I could see it. He was touched by it.
There it is.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And then one of the collaborational things is that I asked, "Can you pose with my painting in your own studio?" So then I have a nice collection of these pictures, which I can use in videos or to make some promotion or whatever. And of course, I like it when I see it when they show the picture in their own studio.
Yeah.
But then something really funny thing happened, because then the COVID time and the lockdowns started, and so nobody could do a thing, and there were no performances. And then out of the blue, I read in an interview, I started filming myself making this portrait because I was working on some online workshops because I couldn't teach, so I had to do something. And I started to film my own movements, and I learned something about video editing. Not that much, but okay. It was, for me, it was efficient enough. And then I asked Mike Garson. Well, I said, I read an interview with you, and you say that David started painting while you were playing the piano. Is that correct? I said, yes, it was. It inspired him to paint. And I said, Mike, I do the same thing. I listen to your music. I listen to and it also inspires me. In fact, it resonates with my. Sometimes you can see it. It resonates with the handling of the paint, and you can become. I start to read stories about them, listening to the music, and so to become as close as possible to the subject.
Yeah.
And then I asked. I had a couple of wines. So I still remember. I said, Mike, can you do it the other way around? Can you improvise with your piano on the movements of my? When I started, I said, yes, that's a nice challenge. Okay, I will do it. And I told him the story that just before I met him, I had a meeting with Romy Hague in Berlin, because I was fascinated because she's Romy Hague and she was from my city. She was born here, and then she moved to Berlin. So then I thought
that's her with the
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and she also gave me permission to use this or the original picture. And I told I said, "Do you know this story?" And he didn't answer, but he said, "But I will improvise a piece for you." And then the next morning, I woke up, and then there was this email, and it says, "Here you are." I said, "Oh my God!" And I listened to it, and it was an improvisation on "Where Are We Now," which
wow.
About Berlin. So I was really moved by this. And then I said, okay, does it make sense to add a percussion thing to it by my cousin? I said, because I during the rehearsals I could hear, because I'm not an expert at all in music, but I could hear that they have some jazz roots. My cousin has, and Mike Garson has. And I don't know why I said it, but I said, I think you should collaborate even more. And then Mike was, well, that's interesting. And then my cousin added some percussion to it, and it was really amazing. This mixed together. So, and that's where it all started for me to make this whole project. So, and then it was you can describe it as a total work of art, of Gesamtkunstwerk.
I'll tell you why I'm pulling this particular picture up. That's Hannah Burchard, who it became, I don't want to say famous, but became prominent in the Bowie community when a documentary crack actor from 1975 used a clip of her saying, "I'm just a space cadet, he's my commander." And from that, she launched a career in journalism, and Bowie himself actually used that clip in a remix of a song. And the reason I pulled this up is what you're describing right now is this interface between artists. You're an artist, the people you're listening to are artists, and you're playing off one another. And the admiration for each other becomes new art. And I just, it's an observation, but the other observation is, I'm also reflecting on my own experience. I'm not an artist, but the opportunity to have interaction rather than to just listen to or watch an artist, the opportunity to have an interaction with the artist is there. It's an option that's more available than I think the casual listener, or in your case, the casual observer might realize. And for me, it's been a deeply meaningful experience, and I can tell that it is for you just by looking at your own art.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of these paintings that we've been looking at, I know you've had whole shows devoted to them.
Mhm.
Do you have any coming up? Any Bowie shows coming up?
Well, no, it's a continuing story because I'm not. I you saw this fabric.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a Keenan Duffy shirt. I found it on eBay, and with this necklace together.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to show you. I want to show it to you because I like these collaborations. And Keenan sent me a messenger after we met. We just briefly we only shook hands after Liverpool because he's also connected to Ava Cherry.
Yeah.
And I introduced this Dutch Bowie performer, Rias Barda. Maybe he's very interesting for you. Now because well, I have to tell you a nice story because Rias Barda, I saw him perform Heroes when he was in a little boat on the river in Holland, and he was playing. I think, oh my God, this guy has a really nice voice.
Is his band Starman?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And we became friends, but it was also during the lockdowns, and he wanted to perform. He said, well, let's celebrate because I had an opening of my exhibition. It was a tribute to David Bowie and his alumni in a very well-known gallery in The Hague. And he said, but it was impossible because I couldn't open the exhibition and we had to do something else. So I put some videos on the background, and it was a nice thing to look at from the outside, but you cannot come inside, which is very Bowie-like. He felt a little bit alienated when looking at this exhibition. Well, but I started to have more contact with Rias, and then I saw him perform at a television, at a TV program. It's called The Battle of the Bands. And in this jury were some really well-known Dutch musicians, and he got this recognition from these musicians. Yeah, one of them is a guitar player called Spike, and the drummer of the Golden Earring, Cesar Zuiderwijk. So they were pretty well-known in Holland. And then he got this recognition. And one of the prizes, he was with 3 other finalists, and that they could perform in the Zico Dome, which is a really big venue. And when I saw this footage, I spoke to Rice. Well, do you want me to put it forward to Mike Garson or to? I said, what are you going to do? I said, well, let's have a look, see what happens. And then, but the first one I sent it to was Ava, because Ava and I became really, really good friends.
Yeah.
We speak each other almost every day.
So, tell her I said hi.
Yes,
please do.
Yeah. Yes. I really like her. And then she said, "Wow, this guy he's not only looking good, but he can sing really great. He really captures the essence of Bowie's songs. And wow, and put me into contact with him because I want to perform with him." And then Rias was like, "Oh my God, what's going on here?" And Carmine said the same thing. He really liked it. So one of the end results was just happened a few weeks ago. Was at the Ava's Live, which is also a big venue with like 6,000 people.
Yeah.
And so Ava and Carmine and Kevin Armstrong, I contacted them, all of them. And they all wanted to play with him.
Yeah.
He could choose in a way. But and they performed together, and it was such an amazing show. And then Rias told the audience what was happening, and he said, "Yes, I have to think." He called my name. He mentioned my name, and I was with my mother sitting next to me, and a good friend of mine, Ron. And we were sitting there. Oh my God! And then the crowd started clapping. I think, wow, that's a really wonderful moment. I had such a wonderful week with Carmine and Ava. I didn't see Kevin that much, but okay. But it was absolutely fantastic to spend time with them. And then I asked Ava, when your flight will be? She said it will be on the 8th, and the concert was at the 7th of November. I said, oh no, I have the opening of my exhibition on the 9th. I said, oh my God, I wish you could stay. I said, okay, you arrange a hotel for me, and then I will try to reschedule my flight. And it worked out. And I said, oh my God. And then well, the next day, and then I thought, okay, let's organize some kind of VIP evening. Okay. Because I had this exhibition with Patricia Stern, the photographer, which was really exciting to show my pictures next to her work. And
yeah,
it's a nice combination. It worked out pretty well. It was really rock and roll. And it just ended, so the void is there a little bit, because it was such an exciting time. But at the VIP evening, she said, I said, but Ava, do you want to open my exhibition, our exhibition? Yes, of course I will. I will sing. I will sing for you. I said, oh my God, it will be amazing. So I organized this VIP evening, and with the catering, etc. And it was, and then Carmine, I saw him backstage after the concert. I said, what are you guys going to do tomorrow night? He said, what do you mean? I said, yes, I heard something about a VIP evening. Yes, I said, yes. Ava will sing with Rios together, acoustics, and they said, okay, arrange a place for me and I will play. I said, are you sure? Yes, I said, I will. I won't let you down. So then I said, oh my God, that will be really amazing. So, and I invited a Dutch friend of mine, John Baltus, to play the guitar, electric guitar, and Rios played on his 12-string. And Ava singing and Carmine playing the bass. It was, can you imagine?
No, I mean,
at a private party. I mean, there were only 90 people.
That is an amazing story. It's a fantasy, really. It's the kind of thing that if you had imagined beforehand, people would say you'll never pull it off.
No.
Right? But what an amazing story. Yeah. I don't think I could ask you a better question than that story that there was. So let's wrap up. But I do want to ask you one very superficial question that I ask everybody, which is, what is your favorite Bowie song and album?
Oh, okay. Well, the song with every time it pops up is Station to Station.
Yeah. Wow.
I like this kind of trip. I can listen to it all day.
Yeah.
Station and but for my landscape painting, I'm also inspired by his instrumental pieces. I like Heroes and Low, yes, because then I came into contact with well, I tried to have contact with Brian Eno. I'm not sure if I will ever succeed, but you can ask for a video shout out by Robert Fripp. And then I told Robert, I said, oh, I'm a landscaper. I'm inspired so much by ambient music.
Yeah.
And can you tell me something about your source of inspiration? And then he sent me a video. I said, oh my God, this is Robert Fripp. So I hope there will be a continuation of that contact.
Yeah. I said that was going to be the last question, but there was one other thing I wanted to ask. When you're painting, are you listening to the artists that you're depicting?
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Watch live concerts but also the regular stuff. No, I listen to it because I need to go in the flow. I need to be in the flow, and then I have to listen to the music to become one.
Yeah.
Become one with your subject. Yes.
Well, this has been tremendous. Arjan van Gent, excellent stories, wonderful art, as I mentioned, I will put links to your website where anybody who's interested can explore your art in greater detail on their own pace. But I was so looking forward to having this conversation, and I'm so happy we made it happen. Any final words?
Yeah, well, I want to ask you, what's your fascination with Bowie? Where does it start for you? Because you say we are almost the same age, or yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, I will tell you. So,
Yeah.
as an addendum, so interestingly, I'm a year older than you are, and the first time that I saw Bowie was the same, not the exact same concert, but in 1987 in Toronto. It was a Glass Spider Tour concert, and I was certainly aware of David Bowie before, and in fact, my mother and younger sister had seen him on the Serious Moonlight tour, but I didn't see that concert. But once I saw the Glass Spider concert, I was hooked. It wasn't just the music, but the whole experience, the spectacle, the giant stage. And in a way, it was a great first concert because you said you saw him 3 times. I maybe only saw him 8 times, but every subsequent concert was even better. Not as much of a spectacle, but maybe my favorite concert that I saw of him was a very intimate one, which is in a much smaller venue. But in the late 80s, I just was discovering his back catalog. And then also, as we experienced as people, of our age, he was coming out with about 1 album every other year. So we experienced the lead up, the promotion, the videos. You get the new album, you listen to it over and over and over again. And then he starts teasing a new album and a new approach. So he was giving us something to do. And I feel like David Bowie has left us, with you've channeled this into art. With me, I've channeled into contemplation. Much as you said, I have associated many moments in my life with either David Bowie songs or some of the concepts that he contemplated in art. And maybe more than people who are themselves musicians, which I'm not, I also spend quite a bit of time contemplating his lyrics, which are deliberately cryptic. He doesn't want to tell us what to think. So, he wanted us, the audience, to assign our own meanings, which that gives us a lot to do. So when I write about David Bowie on a daily basis, it never gets old.
No.
There's only it's not my professional line of work. I'm actually in government, and I could have done a blog about politics, but I wanted something else that I could focus on a daily basis outside of my profession, and that's David Bowie, because the subject never gets old. He's still leaving us homework assignments, and his is the only human voice I've listened to almost every day for 35 years. So that's the very short version of my story. But that's
I think we can talk for hours. No, because I'm planning to well, in fact, I already written 180 pages.
Yeah.
About all these encounters and how David Bowie played a role in my life.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to it, yes. And as an artist, he's so inspiring. Then you can see the influence of the pre-Raphaelites, and then he gets some pictures from the 30s, and he's Buster Keaton and what there's so many influences, and that's what I really like. And then you discover every day, or you discover something else.
Right.
It never stops.
Yeah.
And that's very, for me, that's very, very inspiring. And I want to say something else. That is what he learned me. what his message was: it's okay to be you.
Yes.
Yes, and that's what I will always cherish.
Yeah.
In my life. Yes. Yes.
Well, this has been terrific. Arjan, please let's stay in touch. Let's talk again. You mentioned you might be working on a book. If there's anything I could do to help with that, I'd be happy to. It's really my delight. And I so enjoyed this conversation, and I so enjoy and admire your art. It's not something I can do. So I greatly
you.
admire it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
having this opportunity. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.